Next, we will look at Architecture Repository. Architecture Repository is a structured information store that holds the outputs from architecture development effort as the teams that form part of the architecture capability executes through the ADM cycles. The key sections of this information store include architecture metamodel, architecture landscape, reference library, standards information base, governance logs, and architecture capability. The architecture metamodel includes two subcomponents, namely the architecture methods used and the content metamodel. The architecture methods describe the tailored architecture framework that the organization has adopted to suit its specific context. The content metamodel was covered in more detail in previous section. The architecture landscape shows the state of the operating enterprise at particular points in time. The reference library contains reusable architecture work products. The standards information base defines the compliance criteria for work governed by architecture. The governance log captures results of governance activities such as compliance assessments. The architecture capability describes the organization, roles, skills, and responsibilities of the enterprise architecture practice. Let's get into more details on some of the key components. First, the architecture landscape. The architecture landscape holds information in three layers of abstraction. The strategic architecture shows a long-term summary view of the entire enterprise. They provide an organizing framework for operational and change activity and allow for direction setting at an executive level. Segment architectures provide detailed operating models for areas within an enterprise. They can be used at the program or portfolio level to organize and operationally align more detailed change activities. Capability architectures show how the enterprise can support a particular capability. They are used to provide an overview of current capability, target capability, and capability increments, and allow for individual work packages and projects to be grouped within managed portfolios and programs. Reference library is a repository area to hold best practices or template materials that can be used to construct architectures within an enterprise. Reference materials held in the library are typically obtained from a variety of sources, which includes the accumulated knowledge that's collected internally by the organization based on multiple architecture implementations, standards bodies, product and service vendors, industry communities or forums, etc. Standards information base is a repository of baselined standards that impact the enterprise architecture development. The standards are classified in many different ways, but at a high level, they can be categorized as relating to legal and regulatory concerns, industry-related standards, and organizational standards. And under each of these top-level classification, standards can be further classified into those applicable to each of the architecture domain, that is, business, application, data, and technology. The standards go through a life cycle and are denoted in the standards information base to reflect the current life cycle status of the standard. The life cycle stages of a standard, as defined by TOGAF, are trial, active, deprecated, and obsolete. Governance log is a repository area to hold shared information relating to the ongoing governance of projects. Maintaining a shared repository of governance information is important, since decisions made during projects are important to retain and access on an ongoing basis.